And now it's a particular pleasure to introduce our Vice-Chancellor and President of the University of East Anglia, and Professor David Richardson. Professor Richardson is here with two hats on, both as the President of the University of East Anglia and also Chair of the Managing Board of the Sainsbury Institute for the Study of Japanese Arts and Cultures. And Professor Richardson is going to talk to us on the future of our students, developing an entrepreneurial culture around science and the humanities. Professor Richardson.
Well, thank you, Simon. Thank you, Phil, for that excellent introduction. And thank you all for joining us this afternoon in what promises to be a wonderful, if a little hot, afternoon together. Yes, as you've heard, I'm the President of UEA, the Chair of SysJac. I am a scientist, I'm a biochemist, but today I'm not going to talk to you about my science. I get the opportunity to do that later on this week at Tokyo University. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the challenges that universities and higher education institutes and indeed research institutes perhaps face in today's world, the world that many of us consider to be a post-truth world, about which I'll say a little bit more in a moment. But at the outset, I think that we have evidence here today about how strong our science is in both Japan and in the UK, and an opportunity to bring together science of the two countries is an extraordinary one that we must take full advantage of. And to be doing that here at the National Museum of Science and Nature in Tokyo, I think is really a great honour, certainly for me and I'm sure all of my colleagues. Now, when we think about, say, Japanese science, I think historically there's always been a healthy mix of taking the science and mixing with the arts and producing some very, very high quality pioneers and visionaries as a consequence. And just to spend a few minutes reflecting on perhaps one or two of those visionaries. As a bioscientist myself, and I know Phil is a botanist and many others in here interested in plant sciences, I found the work of Konoyasu particularly inspiring. The first Japanese woman to have her research on the fern Salvinia natans, actually published in what was then a foreign scientific journal, way back when, published in the British journal Annals of Botany. And she actually became the first woman in Japan to complete a doctorate in science. Of course, many thousands have done so since. I think this epitomises the start of much great work around biochemistry, plant sciences, chemistry, climate change that has come out of Japanese research. But also, I'm reminded of many powerful international collaborations that started off early in Japanese science research. One example was Oscar Johann Kalner, known as the father of Japanese agricultural chemistry. And his rice fields on the Komaba campus of the University of Tokyo, his beautiful rice fields, are a reminder of the significant work that he was doing in the Meiji period over 100 years ago, giving a sense of the history of science in this country. Then, of course, we've had a number of Nobel Prize winners. My university's had one, which we're very proud of. We just heard about Paul Nurse. Japan has had some 25 Nobel Prize winners across a whole range of disciplines. Some that come to my mind include pioneers of chemistry, such as Koichi Tanaka and Hideki Shirakawa, who developed studies around conductive polymers and also laser desorption techniques, which ultimately were very powerful for the use of biological sciences, developing what we call matrix-assisted laser desorption for analysing biological molecules. I think there's also a rich tradition in entrepreneurship, and that's something I want to talk about later on. Innovative application of scientific researchers. We had Kukichi Mikimoto, who was cultivating pills, formed a huge business, a multinational business, from actually undertaking and establishing the technology for cultured pills. And then Akira Endo's work on fungi and cholesterol biosynthesis led to the development of statins, which of course have got huge, huge application now in really every country around the world. So a great heritage from which to forge new interactions. You heard about my university, UEA, from Phil Martin. You've heard I'm also chair of the Sainsbury Institute, and you've heard about the Norwich Research Park. It's a powerful presence in the UK, and UEA has just celebrated its 50th birthday. We've achieved much in those 50 years, but of course now as a president leading the university, I need to look forward and think how we navigate our way through the next 50 years. And how we actually navigate the university through this post-truth world. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about how we're broaching a post-truth world and how we feel that embracing entrepreneurship is going to be an important way to take forward the science and the humanities together in this future. And I think it's appropriate to be doing that with this audience because this is actually my second visit to Tokyo as UA's president, and it was clear to me from the first visit 18 months ago, from the few people I met, some of the institutes I visited, that Japan was a place of huge energy, huge vitality, huge vision, and complementary cultures to the UK that would enable us to work together. As Japan, I think, faces many similar challenges to the UK, can we work together to find ways in which we can develop ourselves in this new world, particularly around entrepreneurship and challenging the global questions that we need to engage in the future. It's a challenging world for us, particularly in the UK at the moment, because as I reflect through the lens of British higher education over the last 12 months or so, it's clear to me that universities have got to work very hard to help people to respect them and understand what they have to offer. In the UK now we're preparing to leave the European Union, and we begin to have to charter very difficult and choppy waters. We don't know where this is going to take us, but we do know that we need to now engage with politicians and get across to those politicians just how important universities are for the future of the UK. And I think that in doing this, we need to think deeply about what higher education is all about and how universities can ensure that the politicians, the policymakers, and the communities in which we operate understand what it is that we contribute through our research, through our education, in both the arts, the humanities, the sciences, the social sciences. And my experience of this has been really quite acute over the last 12 months or so. And it's been acute in what we call this post-truth world. Now, post-truth is a word that many of you have probably come across. It was actually defined or announced by the Oxford English Dictionary as the word of the year last year. It's an adjective that relates to circumstances in which objective facts are actually less influential in shaping public opinion compared to appeals to emotion and personal belief. And the term post-truth actually increased usage by around 2,000% over the last 12 months. Huge increase, and it's a word that's on everybody's mouth. And it certainly resonated to me in the UK as we head towards Brexit and as we begin to experience the presidency of the 45th President of the United States. So what does that mean in the context of Japan? Some of you might have views on that. Should academics be wary of or embrace public opinion? Is it in our interest to do this? How can we help public to understand that our opinion perhaps does matter more than what we think with your heart and your emotions? Now, going back to Brexit, I spent a lot of time campaigning in the UK for the UK to remain in the EU. I debated with politicians, and I experienced post-truth in a very first-hand way. No matter what I said when I was giving facts, I was debating with people who were giving what we might call today false facts. And the significant thing was that people had already decided what they wanted to believe because they were believing with their heart and not using their head to process information and make interpretations. And so I would sit there in debates and make my observations, and the politicians with whom I was arguing would say, "You would say that, wouldn't you? You're an academic." And so it feels to me as if we're now in a dangerous place as a scientist, because the sense of the academic, the scientist, a humanitarianist, trying to get people to understand that the work that they're doing is for the benefit of mankind is being challenged by those that don't believe us, that are thinking with their hearts and their emotions and not with their head. And this actually could challenge the mission of universities to actually make a positive difference to the places in which we are operating and the world in which we live. So, how are we going to go forward and take what we know we have done for many, many decades, if not centuries in some cases, pursuing creative knowledge, pursuing scientific knowledge, and actually move that forward in a post-truth society? And it feels to me as if we can't rest on our laurels, we can't take our place in society for granted and become islands cut off from the world in which we live. And so we now need to think of ourselves more as how do we go forward and influence culture in this world where there are skeptics who challenge what we say. Well, I think there's a few things that we need to do. One is we need to start educating our new students in new ways of thinking. We need to start making our students think of themselves as academic diplomats, engaged in something that I call academic diplomacy. And we need to show our worth through entrepreneurship, and particularly social entrepreneurship, working with societies to help them understand how the research that we're doing can be translated into real benefits for society. Taking academic diplomacy is something we're now starting to introduce to our students. What does academic diplomacy mean? Well, we need to engage with major global issues like climate change, like food, energy and water security, emerging antimicrobial resistance, and actually help politicians, help society engage with the research we're doing in these areas and the potential solutions to them. And to do this, one can take academic diplomacy at two levels. And at one level, it pertains to how universities as organisations with international outreach connect to each other in a mutually beneficial way. And that's what we're doing today. We're reaching out to each other internationally, hopefully to come up with ways in which we can get politicians and society to engage with the challenges that we are engaging with ourselves. And at another level, academic diplomacy is, in terms of policy facing, it's about how universities play a role as guardians of transnational and intersectorial knowledge, and guardians of that creation, which I think is going to be very important in this current age. So basically, using our academic networks in a way that politicians, that countries use their diplomatic networks to actually get people engaged in the work we do and the solutions that we think we have to society's challenges. The importance of international collaboration. Now, we at UEA really felt the force of people challenging facts with emotions and vested interests. A few years ago, this post-truth world, whilst it's a new term, has been around for a long time. A few years ago, the School of Environmental Sciences and Climatic Research, we have the head of the school here, Kevin, today, he felt this very acutely. We had many thousands of emails stolen from our university and then related to research and commentaries and correspondence around our climate change research. Those emails were trawled through by people who didn't like the answers we were coming up with, and they were looking for anything that they might use to suggest that we were lying. It was an international outrage. We were hauled in front of our own parliamentary inquiries who investigated this. US senators were calling our scientists criminals. Many, many inquiries took place around the world, but eventually the research was shown to be robust. And in many ways now, there's a stronger sense that climate change is real than there was before this. But we had to do a lot of firefighting. And I think what it shows is that as we together take on some major challenges, that we've talked about today, global challenges, we can't take for granted that people are going to want to hear about our research, accept it, or even want to hear about the solutions. Because they might have emotions that say they don't want to believe us, or they might even have vested interests. So we need to learn from experiences like this and think about how we're going to get our world-leading research into a place where it's accepted by politicians and by society and by business more widely. Now, another area that we are developing in this new world for universities is a focus around enterprise and entrepreneurship, and getting across the sense of how we can take our research and make it beneficial to society through entrepreneurial thinking. Now, last year we launched a new vision for UEA, and it's a vision in which entrepreneurship lies at the heart of the university's development, promoting enterprise amongst our students. Now, all of our universities are home to many thousands of students who, in my opinion, are at the most creative, the most innovative, the most enterprising stage of their lives. In short, they're entrepreneurial. And I think that we as university leaders need to ensure that we put in place an infrastructure that ensures that that entrepreneurial spirit can flourish. So what is the entrepreneur? Well, the entrepreneur is creative, innovative, an independent thinker. Everything we want our students to be. An entrepreneur is brave and tenacious, prepared to take risks, just as students should be. Now, entrepreneurship can create successful business people, but it also creates great writers, great engineers, great explorers, great inventors. It's more than just launching a business. And all those sorts of roles are beneficial to our society going forward. So we need to help our students think of themselves as enterprising entrepreneurships, so that they really feel they can go out and make a difference in the world, giving back to communities in a very fulsome way. So we begin to think about how we structure our campus to stimulate this entrepreneurship. And as a beacon of entrepreneurship, we opened a new enterprise centre, the lowest carbon building, the most energy efficient academic building in the UK and possibly even Europe. Built with locally sourced materials, it's a beacon of sustainability, it's home to local businesses, developing businesses, but it also has learning and teaching spaces and incubator spaces for students to form new businesses, to take their ideas and translate them into entrepreneurship in the business world. And this reflects the sort of investment we're making in an entrepreneurial future. We stimulate our students to think about how their ideas can be actually taken into the marketplace. And we're very proud when they win competitions. And recently, some of our students won a competition, a national competition, for environmental entrepreneurs. And they were personally congratulated by the then Minister of Education and Science. And they had a wonderful project that's based on recovering lost heat from electrical appliances and converting it back into electricity again. And this gives you an idea of the sorts of things that we can do to stimulate our students. I think in addition, one needs to have role models. So we're trying to engage with our entrepreneurial alumni to help with our students. We've set up a new enterprise fund. And in that enterprise fund, the enterprise fund itself is donated to by successful alumni, entrepreneurs who've been successful in business through their entrepreneurial thinking. And they give money to help our students develop their ideas, but they also give their time to help mentor our students so they can actually learn from an entrepreneur how to be a successful entrepreneur. And we're showing leadership in this area because actually some of the most senior leaders in our university can show themselves as having been successful entrepreneurs. Our new Chancellor, Karen Jones, an arts and humanities graduate, successfully launched a whole chain of restaurants called Café Rouge across London and across the world. Our Chair of Council, Joe Greenwell, another arts and humanities graduate, actually left UEA and went on to become president of Ford UK and is now a major advocate of automotive engineering. So having role models like this that can help our students is a wonderful way of helping them develop their entrepreneurial spirit. And we think it's beginning to work. In the last statistics that came out of the UK, UEA ranked 7th out of 160 universities for intellectual properties licenses granted last year. 9 out of 160 universities for graduate startups, 128 last year. So we're beginning to make a difference. And today's students, tomorrow's entrepreneurs, will be taking their ideas into society, and we hope making a difference. I talked about our new enterprise centre, a low-carbon, energy-efficient building. Well, we also have a low-carbon innovation fund, which is contributing some 70 million to low-carbon businesses in the region in match funding to develop low-carbon businesses, taking forward new low-carbon ideas. It's also important to embed the spirit of entrepreneurship into our courses. So we look at our courses and think how we can bring businesses into our courses, how we can help businesses to help our students develop that enterprise and entrepreneurial spirit as part of the curriculum. And then we also put on specific courses, like MSCs in Enterprise and Business Creation, for example. And we also have a wonderful master's course in Creative Entrepreneurship, which is the first master's course in Creative Entrepreneurship in the UK. And of course, in closing, we're fortunate to be able to do all of this on this wonderful Norwich Research Park, which Professor Gilmartin mentioned a moment ago. Because on this park, we have thousands of potential entrepreneurs working at the university, working at the Norwich University Hospital, working at the research institutes, including the Sainsbury Laboratory of Cyril, here from today, the Garmin Centre, and all of them potentially being able to take forward ideas that could be changing major ideas that influence the development of society, that help take on major global challenges. Challenges around climate change, challenges around water and energy security, challenges around sources of new antibiotics. Developing the next generation of the world's best writers, developing the next generation of the world's top business people. And so in closing, I think what we see are new challenges for universities and for research. How we engage in a post-truth world where people want to believe with their hearts and don't do enough thinking with their heads, and how we take that on board. How we use our academic networks to actually take on the challenge of getting our ideas into the politicians, into communities in this challenging post-truth world. And also how we focus on what the relevance of universities is for the future, in particular thinking about how we can take forward our ideas through enterprise and entrepreneurship. And I think as we're hearing the presentations today from our UK and Japanese colleagues, and thinking about those presentations in the context of what I said might be quite useful, because if we can work together in a powerful way to take on these challenges, then we really will be achieving that transnational academic diplomacy to which I refer. So there are challenges ahead, but I'm hugely, hugely optimistic, because I think that we have everything we need to take on the challenges in this new era. So I really look forward to hearing about the work we're going to hear about, and thank you again for joining us.